2026 going to be a huge year for both Ripple and the XRP Ledger. We see the institutional transformation of XRP Ledger, and XRP has been one of the most institutional coins out there, actually used in real-world payments. But this is another level of adoption. And it's interesting, when we look at everything right now, there's this great divergence. You have a sphere on the surface, but the foundation of this, the core of what's going on, is strength, not fear. Retail right now, 47% drawdown from high. You see that fear index quite large. But the reality, the core of this institutional build out, you have that DXC Alliance, 5 trillion deposit reach, huge. We see RLUSD growing in market cap significantly. This is a newly launched coin, $1.4 billion, but also that new listing on Binance. The more liquid, the more places we are listed, the better that sucker's going to be. The more really liquid it will make the XRP Ledger for on-chain liquidity, which is the most important part. In permission domains, we're going to talk about this, but this is going to be key as we start onboarding institutions. There's a lot of requirements that, your regular type of DeFi, your regular type of DEXs don't have. It's not like Uniswap where anyone can trade with anyone. They need to know who's using these systems. When it's BlackRock, their BitO platform, it's permission. If Ripple's going to interact in one of these, it's got to be permission. So that's really going to be a huge game changer here. Again, the DXC Alliance, solving that last mile problem is what Ripple's doing here. Ripple integration is going to be so big. And they're not just looking at sending XRP for cross-border payments. Ripple Payments is part of it. Licensed end-to-end cross-border payments, managing those fund flows, huge. But also Ripple Custody. It's a full-service suite here. Institutional-grade custody for digital assets, stablecoins, RWA. That's going to be the kicker there. That's where you're going to see the big adoption. Everyone wants that, and they're going to get it. And XRP Ledger is going to be a player here in the infrastructure of the future. RLUSD integration, again, direct access to a dollar-backed stablecoin within core banking environments. It's regulated, it's trusted, it's next level. And of course, the most important for us, that XRP settlement layer. You have that native cryptocurrency providing settlement finality in any transactions you're doing in any sort of value. That's really the secret sauce there. You can't just have a stable coin. You got to have that native currency for all of this to work here. RLUSD, again, the regulated liquidity bridge. We know it is one-to-one back, no playing around. The deposits are there. You can trust in that. That money sitting in short-term treasuries here. Reserves actually exceeding what they need to hold, 103% with monthly attestations here. Supervision, it's all about that oversight, right? Their oversight by New York Department of Financial Services. Doesn't get any bigger than that. Brad Garlinghouse saying the listing to Binance is extremely positive for liquidity depth. And that's what this game is all about. Who has the liquidity? That's ultimately who wins this game of attrition here. Permission domains, the regulatory key to public chains here. This allows institutions to conduct transactions on public blockchains without exposing sensitive data. Domain owners define rules, and only credentialed accounts can participate. So if you're BlackRock, you can't let some nefarious individual come in there and invest and then earn a yield or earn a return and then take their profits and go out and commit crimes with that. Like, that's not going to be okay. They're going to hold BlackRock responsible. They say, did you know who that is? Do you know who you're interacting with? And if the answer is no, that's going to be a big problem. And it's really two things, right? Not only defining the rules and the credentials for participants, but allowing institutions to conduct transactions on the public blockchain without exposing sensitive data. This is what they are trying to put together. When you hear about institutions adopting blockchain technology, this is where it's at. And this is where you're going to see massive liquidity growth as we go forward here. Unlocking institutional DeFi, the roadmap, permission domains, permission DEX, that's next. We got to get that. And the lending protocol. XRP Ledger is going to be excellent for lending and borrowing and those types of things. That's just proposed, but we're going to get it. You know that. You know as well as anyone, it's going to happen here. Again, the institutional divergence, smart money versus price action. What are we seeing here from institutions? Well, Bitcoin, it's not a good time in the market. Bitcoin's seen outflows of their ETFs. Ethereum, not as big, not over a billion, but still 351 million. XRP ETF has saw $1.3 billion in inflows. Now, some of that is because it's new, right? You didn't already have all this money stuffed in there, but still, we are seeing constant inflows. And when this market turns bullish, heck, it's going to be even more extreme here. Top funds right now: Bitwise, Franklin Templeton. We're seeing real players here. Yeah, you haven't got your BlackRock, you don't have your Fidelities, but Bitwise, Franklin Templeton, that is no joke here. Retail sentiment, we're kind of off balance, and these things will balance out. Extreme fear, frustration, selling. Institutional, what are they doing? They're buying daily inflows, long-term horizon. They understand where the value is being built. And those investments are typically more sticky than, some retail investor that throws their lunch money in the market and is freaked out they're losing everything. They are building for the long term, and if the price comes down, they're going to slowly and methodically build up those positions, and it will have a compounding effect over time. Will accumulation and exchange level supply, the lowest level since 2018. Again, a lot of those tokens are still on exchange wallets, but they're out of the trading wallet on the open market, and they're being moved over to ETF wallets. Cold storage, long-term storage. You can't buy those XRPs. You have a lower supply. That is going to make a difference over time. You best believe it. Technical outlook, defining the floor and the ceiling. We've had a big drawdown, but we will find that floor, and we are going to see a breakout, I think, sooner than later. I'm looking for first quarter this year. It's got to get going. It ain't going to probably happen in the summer doldrums, best believe that. So if it's going to happen, probably be in the first quarter. 2026 outlook, the infrastructure, it's built. The market is waiting. We have the plumbing complete. The fuel, RLUSD, provides compliant liquid settlements. We're at 1.4 billion in market cap. Look for that to go up in a big way. The flows, ETFs are starting to absorb those flows. It's only going to pick up pace. There's two things we're looking. We need to get that, final piece of the puzzle for market infrastructure. We need to get that through the gates, and I hope they work out a good deal. I'm not a fan of KYCing people that want to use decentralized exchanges and DeFi and things like that. I don't care if exchanges, centralized systems can earn yield. Give up on that. Let's try to protect DeFi, but it's not going to get a better time than now. They have to strike while the iron is hot. But if that happens, and I think it will, because it's better for banks, right? Banks can get something out of this. They can go all right, fine. We're on board as long as the exchanges can't be a shadow bank and kind of, compete with us without having licensure and insurance, but we'll give up on the DeFi stuff, something like that. A deal can be worked out, because if nothing happens, guess what? Exchanges can still keep basically being shadow banks and compete with banks. So they have something there. Regulators want to get this done. The administration, they want to get this thing done as well. They know now is the time to strike. Everyone from the top down has a lot of money. They understand. And then we're just waiting for this market to turn. We're waiting for the next leg up, and the catalyst could be, passing that. And there's nothing I know that Brian Armstrong doesn't know, or other people within crypto. You have those individuals that are pushing hard to get as much as we can, but you have people like Brad Garlinghouse and Circle and Kraken that are anchoring things, saying, hey, look, the crypto industry, we still want to work with you, right? We want to get a deal done. That stops everything from falling apart. So they're all kind of on the same page. Look, Coinbase put a ton of money into this thing. Ripple put a ton of money into this thing. They're working together, even if the two parties kind of act differently here. That's okay. You have the one side pushing for a better deal. You have the other side holding everyone together, saying, hey, let's work this out. We want to get it done. And ultimately, I think it gets done. And hopefully this quarter, they need to push that sucker through, because the closer you get to the midterms, the less likely something is to happen, people. But, if we see a surprise break here, and it very well may happen, that's going to be, it's going crazy. Or if we see prices take off, something's likely coming soon, right? Usually we see prices react, and then boom, here comes the regulations. We got to protect this industry long term. We got to protect the classification of coins, not as securities, things like this. And, there's so much money at stake. This is going to happen. And when it does, especially with the XRP Ledger, all the infrastructure's getting in order, the capability of the Ledger. We are ready to rock and roll. Let me know down below what you think. Is 2026 going to be a big year for cryptocurrencies? I sure think it will be. We just got to make our move, and I think it's going to be a big one. Let me know your price targets as well for XRP. As always, please like, please subscribe. The revolution will be televised right here on Jungle Link.